So we were just like, oh, like a woman only, roommate app, so you can just find have a house full of women. And then as we were developing it, we were like, oh, well, we may as well add some other features, whether it's like freelance work or like just connecting for just to chat and, make friends or travel, things like that.
Great idea.
So it was just this little, supposed to be just this little app that women could use where there'd only be women there. We just sort of jumped straight into it. And at no point in this process did anyone say to us, or did we think, should we just check if men are legally women? What an irrational thought. I had no idea that there was any issue with this stuff. I don't know what bubble I was living in. I just missed it all. And then so basically we developed the app, we put it on the App Store and Google Play, and we were doing what's called beta testing just to check that things worked. So a handful of women around the world knew about it, and all of our security measures weren't in place. So to keep an app female only, you basically, how would you do that? We found that there was a company that did, it's not facial recognition software. They call it gender, but it's actually sex, because they're just using the polite term for sex. It was just this software that could tell from a picture whether someone's male or female. And when we discovered that, it was like, oh, well, this is possible to do. And we thought long and hard about it, because I was like, well, that's the least controversial way to do it, because when we're just walking around in everyday life, you just go, oh, that's a man, that's a woman. It's so subconscious. This is such a basic skill that we have, and we take selfies all the time, and we all just know that who's a man and who's a woman. And I was like, easy, and it would work, and it would keep it woman only. Anyone watching this right now can tell you're a man and I'm a woman. We don't have to announce it. It's just obvious. Men and women look different. So basically on the 7th of February 2020, I woke up that morning to thousands of men on the app, because we didn't have that security properly in place yet, because we were still doing all the testing. Okay. So they were on there, they'd created these profiles saying kill TERFs and rape threats, and I didn't know what a TERF was. They'd inundated the App Store and Google Play with 1-star reviews calling us transphobic, and I was devastated and mortified, because I'd never been called phobic of anything. I'd never been called a bigot before in my life. I've never done anything to warrant it. I was like, I'm a supporter of gay marriage, which is a sex-based thing, biological sex-based, like sexual orientation. So I was just like, what is going on? Giggle as a company really just so blindly entered this space head on. We had put in technology, AI technology on the app that basically confirmed that you can tell if someone is male or female, and not only human eyes can, but also this technology can.
Tell us a little bit about Roxy and what happened.
Okay, so I did not know of this person until this sort of started, but now I've had to research and learn a lot more. So Roxy Tickle is a man who claims to be a woman and plays sport on women's teams, and very much has sort of tried to position himself as an activist in this space. Okay, fine. We apparently had some interactions on Twitter in 2021, but I didn't know who that person was when we did. But going back and looking through everything, he knew who I was. He was like, Sall, the CEO of Giggle. We were having a nice exchange about basically trans women being able to be in female spaces. My position was no, and I blocked them on Twitter, which I do to all activists. So he knew my position, he knew who I was, knew my position. He went on Giggle. Now, remember this, the AI is set to 94% accuracy. He got through on that 94% accuracy. I then removed him, and I don't remember it at the time, because we had thousands of men constantly trying to attack us. This person is the only person in the history of Giggle who has ever called my phone, texted and called my personal phone number saying he was trying to get onto the app. I don't know how he got my number. And when that happened, I then, because I had this phone number and it said Roxy Tickle, and I looked up online and saw that this was a man claiming to be a woman. So I blocked the number. I didn't think anything of it, any more of it. It was something I blocked it out of my mind, because it did scare me. That call and text scared me. And I got the email from the Australian Human Rights Commission that I had a complaint against me for gender identity discrimination. I read, and it was a charge from Roxy Tickle, citing gender identity discrimination. What they wanted to settle it was that I would let him on, all men who claim to be women on the platform. I would go to sex and gender education classes, which could only be
Well, you need
re-education. I had to moderate the speech of women on the app so that they wouldn't offend these men who claim to be women who'd push their way through. I said no, and I was like, I'm not even going to go to conciliation on that, because I knew I'm not going to agree to any of it. You want to bring this case? Let's have this. Let's have the day in court. The hearing, trial, but it's called a hearing in Australia. It will be in April next year. And then so what's happened also in that time is the Australian Human Rights Commission has intervened in the case as amicus curiae, which means friend of the court. All but confirming my instinct that they were not on my side, that my human rights are quite inconsequential to the Australian Human Rights Commission.
So this is really, you're the test case versus the Australian Human Rights Commission, really.
The case is still Tickle v Giggle, but it is basically the government versus Giggle. It's obviously the Sex Discrimination Act, which is what's at stake here. But as I keep saying, what it comes down to for me, just in how I feel about it, it is either they are going to establish that I have to believe, the law says I have to believe a man is a woman, or I don't. And that's why it affects everybody else, because nobody should be forced to believe something that is so untrue and ignore what they see with their own eyes. We're not in a free society. If you have to say that man is a woman, you're not in a free society.